Land ownership of the Philippines under Spain and America. Land ownership of the Philippines under Spain. Pre-Spanish period. Pre-Spanish era, lands were not unequally distributed. The notion of private property was unknown. Communal ownership of land, the community barangay owned the land. Spanish period. Spanish colonization 1521 to 1898. Private ownership of the land was introduced wherein every resident of the municipality was given his or choice of the land for cultivation that is free from tax. Large tracts of uncultivated lands restricted within a given municipality were granted by the Spanish monarchs to those worthy Spaniards, and later on became known as encomienda. Encomienda system. Pueblo agriculture system or encomienda system. Encomienda, from Spanish encomendar, to entrust, legal system by which the Spanish crown attempted to define the status of the indigenous population. King of Spain, owner of the land. Through the law of Indies, the Spanish crown awarded tracts of land to religious orders, Spanish military as reparlamentos or reward for services, Spanish encomenderos. Pueblo agriculture system or encomienda system, an unfair and abusive system for the Filipinos. In this system, Filipinos work and paid their tributes to the encomendero. Spanish encomendero are called to manage the encomienda or the lands given to them. Filipinos were not given the right to own a land and they need to work in them so that they may have a share of the crops. They abused, overtaxed, and practically enslaved the Filipinos. Some of the priests were tried to defend the people were unprotected. The encomienda became an abusive system for the Filipino farmers working the land. Even after the encomienda system was struck down, corrupt Spanish officials still continued to abuse the people who still had to render forced labor and pay heavy tribute. Later, the Spanish authorities started to group the barangays together into administration units, which are called pueblos or municipios, which were governed by the gobernadorcillos. Caciquism, it means busrol. The newly commissioned cabezas took to their task as agents of the Spaniards, acting as intermediaries between the Spaniards and their people. They took the various opportunities for enrichment such as oppressive polo, forced labor, and vandalia, compulsory sale of farm products to the government. Hacienda system, the use and ownership of rancher plantations, other commercial states throughout the Spanish colonial world. The Spanish mixed Spanish and native and other elite families in the region enjoyed exclusive right over the lands, exploited the native Filipino workers to work for them. Filipino peasants were ignorant about the law that the Spaniards implemented. That's why the caciques immediately took advantage of the ignorance of Filipinos. They did not only register their own land but also declaim the lands even if it's not theirs. Filipino had no voice to claim their rights because documented titles are favored over verbal claims. In fact, they became tenants of their own lands. Filipino peasants were also dispossessed of their rights because Spaniards outright purchased the land at low price of real estate from a badly in need Filipino. Land ownership of the Philippines under America. According to Candelaria and Alpora 2018, landlessness, the main cause of social unrest in the Philippines, the Americans were aware of. Philippines Bill of 1902, a law regulation of disposal of public land. Private individual can only own 16 hectares of land. Corporate land holding can only avail 1,024 hectares. Also gave rights to Americans to own an agricultural land. Land Registration Act of 1903 placed all private and public land under the Torrens system. torrent system provided comprehensive registration of land titles and to address the absence of records in issues land during Spanish era. Public Land Act 1903 introduced the homestead system, allowed enterprising tenants to acquire farm of at least 16 hectares to cultivate, valid only in northern Luzon and Mindanao. For families who live and cultivate the land they reside since August 1, 1898. Tenancy Act of 1933 regulated the relationship between the landlords and tenants. A. Rice Share Tenancy Act. A. 50-50 share in crops of rice. B. Sugarcane Contract Tenancy Act. A required tenancy contract on land of sugarcane. Reason why these policies made the land ownership even worse in the Philippines. There was no limit to the size of land holdings. Possession of land was limited to who can afford to buy or register, provided certain controls in the landlord-tenant relationship. Commonwealth period. Commonwealth Act No. 178 of 1936 and Amendment to Rice Tenancy Act promulgated on November 13, 1936 provided certain controls in the landlord-tenant relationships. Commonwealth Act No. 461 of 1937 specified the dismissal of tenants should first have the approval of the Tenancy Division of the Department of Justice. During the years of the Commonwealth government, the situation further worsened as peasant uprising increased and landlords-tenants relationship became more desperate. President Quezon laid down a social justice program focused on the purchase of haciendas, which were to be divided and sold to tenants. Social Justice Program of President Manuel Quezon, purchase of large haciendas to be divided and sold to tenants, establishment of National Rice and Corn Corporation, assigning of public defenders to assist peasants in court, setting up the Court of Industrial Relations, amendments to the Rice Tenancy Act, National Land Settlement Administration. Tenancy problems covered through CE number 461 and 608. So that's all for today. Thanks for watching. Again, this is Loverslyn Jataw, BSB FM GE2 BE186.